Hello everyone, this is Tony. Welcome back to Trophy Food Experiences. Today I'm doing a long review of my dinner at Sushi Okeya Kyujiro, which is the newest one-star Michelin restaurant in Vancouver. It's located at 1038 Mainland Street. It is theatrical omakase experience. They started off in Montreal, and I think this chef has plans to kind of expand this and almost franchise it. So the actual chef that's involved is called Takuya Matsuda, but he wasn't there that night. The reservations, I think there's only 2 times and everyone's supposed to be there at the same time. They asked you to be there 15 minutes before your reservation, so they weren't on time. So actually it was supposed to start promptly at 5:45. It didn't start promptly. They asked us to come early, and we did come 10 to 15 minutes early. The only great thing about coming early is I think you get better seats, and so we were seated right in front of the chefs. It opened around 5:35, and that's what you see. At first it's kind of a screen door, and now it's opened up. There's 4 waitresses that come outside and greet you, so that's very nice. And then we were the first to arrive, and you'll see the little kind of waiting room that we were waiting in. This is the little waiting room that we were waiting in. We only waited a couple of minutes, but they didn't seem to be ready. They don't actually have a wine list. You just ask them for wine and they bring out bottles. So a little bit peculiar. They have the wine from Grace Wine vineyards in Japan, which I was very interested in. Again, they didn't have a list, so they had to just pull out bottles for me. And this one I was very excited to drink just because I haven't seen it before. A little bit pricey at $200 a bottle, but you know, it was an experience, and so I wanted to drink it. I will review this on my other channel, Trophy Wine Hunter, but it was kind of a neat wine to drink from Grace Winery in Japan. You sit around a sushi bar. There's 16 seats on 3 sides, and it's like a stage, so you get to see everything. So it's quite an interactive experience. The place setting for each person is very nice. Got a little bit of a light, and then the flower on the right hand side is made of paper and a nice setting. So the chair was a little bit low, but I think that helps you to view things a little bit better. But you know, people are very nice. I wouldn't say the service standard is exceptionally high. You know, they're not great with wines. They're a little bit slow on service just because I think it's so rushed. Everything's so rushed, and that's one of the feedback I will have. The next video is the kind of when they come out and introduce the chefs. I think they have rotating chefs for the restaurant in Vancouver and Montreal. So they started immediately by making a rice, vinegared rice, and I think that was going to be used for a future dish. So the first dish was just a kind of appetizer. It was kind of jelly with some clams. It was a nice starter dish. A lot going on. There's 4 chefs, and they're all preparing stuff right in front of you. So there's a lot of theater and a lot of things going on in front of you. So this is just cutting fish. And then the next dish was a chawan mushi with some prawn on top. Excellent. Actually, I really enjoyed this. This was quite a savory dish, and I really liked it. One of the great things they do is they actually come out with each of the fish and show you each fish. So it's kind of nice a show piece. Some of the fish are actually used right in front of you. Some of them I think maybe just samples, and then because it's very hard to prepare. But that's one of the things. The whole experience is about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and for the amount of dishes that you have, it's quite rushed. And because it's so rushed, I think the service standard suffers a bit because it's hard. The waitresses come around to explain each dish, but even at that, it's very difficult for them to do that. And then they have to fill wine and fill water. So it suffers a little bit, I think, in terms of the service, just because it's too efficient. So this is the mackerel dish. It's raw, but it's kind of marinated. And so it's for those people that don't like raw fish, actually this is actually quite acceptable because it doesn't really taste that raw. It's almost like ceviche style. The other thing is that with all the sushi that they serve, it's already pre-marinated and they've already got the wasabi on. You don't have an extra dish of soy sauce or wasabi. This is bluefin tuna, and I think all of the fish come from Japan, and I have to say that it's very fresh. Everything tasted quite nice in terms of the sushi, sashimis, the raw fish part of this component of all the dishes. There are 4 chefs, and this is one of them that come around to bring the different dishes. Again, it's quite rotating. There's a lot of action, but it's very quick and a little bit rushed, I think. For the dining experience. It's almost too efficient and too robotic. And again, I think it's partly because I think the chef is gonna eventually franchise this a bit and have a lot of stores. So he started out with Montreal, now it's in Vancouver, he might be in Toronto and the States. So he wants to have a formula that's easy to do. So this is the next dish, which is the I guess spiny crab, and that's the sushi dish. This was one that was not as didn't stick out in my mind as much as the other dishes. This was the first of the tempura dishes. So again, they've got a major chef that's doing all the sushi. Then you have a side chef that's doing some grilling, and then the tempura, a lot going on. So I didn't think the tempura was exceptional. It was okay. There's 2 that you'll see, the lobster later on. This I think was more a vegetable dish, a tempura with some uni sauce on top. I found the uni sauce a little bit sweet, and again, it's a good dish, but not the best that or the most memorable that I had that night. This is the next fish that it showed us. I think this is a striped jack, and again, sometimes this will be out of order in terms of the meal because they'll show you a fish and then go to prepare it and come back after 4 or 5 dishes later on. So I kind of tried to put this in order, but again, a lot's going on, a lot of theater. The nice thing is actually they don't mind you taking pictures or taking videos, so they're very good about it. It must be nerve-wracking for the chefs to have people taking pictures and videoing the whole thing, but they're very good about it, very polite. So that was really good. I think this is another mackerel dish, and I think it is with some rice and kind of on the bottom of this. I didn't like this one as much. It was a little bit on the salty side, but again, this presentation was beautiful. This is the raw prawn dish with a little bit of caviar on top, so I like this. And again, it's just the speed. If you can imagine, every time they bring a new piece of sushi, they have to, put it on their plate, or you have to put it to you, and then you have to put it on your plate. Then the waitress has to come around and explain what it is, and then you eat it and then take away your plate. So it's quite a bit of movement, and it's quite quick. This is the black cod dish, which I thought was decent. Nothing wrong with the dish. It was okay. Black cod was okay. It was tender, soft, but again, not anything spectacular that I haven't seen before in my mind. But it was okay. I think this is called Big Eye or Golden Eye Snapper. So again, beautiful fish in terms of the actual presentation of the fish. In fact, we'll get to the end of this when we have the sushi of this. That was probably one of my least favorite pieces of fish for the sushi part component of it. Beautiful presentation, beautiful looking fish, but to me it was a little bit bland in terms of the flavor, but we'll get to there. Really neat to see the chef taking apart the fish like this. It's part of the theater. And again, it must be nerve-wracking for them to be in a way performing in front of customers. And you can see how much stuff is going on in the background. Other things are going on, other meals or other parts of the meal are being prepared. So that's why it's so quick. It's very, very efficient, I have to say. but from a dining perspective, it's a little rushed. So you do have to keep up with the pace. There's not a lot of time for talking, so again, it's one of these restaurants where it is a performance, and if you're there to chit chat about your life, that probably is not the best place to be there. You're really focused on the food, and it comes pretty quickly, so you really have to do prepare for that. So again, just watching him prepare the fish, it's generally fairly silent. Of course, there's a little bit of talking between people, but it's not very loud, and so a lot of focus is on the food and just keeping up the pace. But very neat to see the chef preparing the fish. You don't normally get to see even at a sushi bar. When you're sitting at the sushi bar, I don't think you see as much preparation, and they normally will do the preparation beforehand and just cut the sushi. So this is a kind of a unique thing to be able to see him at work, and I thought he was very skilled. Next dish was the uni sushi, and I love this. Again, nice and fresh. Tasted great to me, so I thought this was an excellent piece of sushi. So the next dish is the mushroom soup. I thought this was quite nice. It was tasty. It's quite a bit of food, and I guess that's somewhat worthwhile in terms of it's the cost here is about $300 or $325 per person without beverage and without tips. So it is costly, but you get a lot of food also, and there's a lot of, it's almost like a show part. So there is a show component to this also. This is a neat dish. This is on the bottom is taro root. I think on the top is some roe and some dried monkfish. So kind of a blander dish, but I liked it as a different palate cleanser to the sushi dishes. So a little bit different into now a little bit of the cooked food. They change up their menu, so even if you go again in a couple of months, I'm pretty sure that they'll have a different menu, although the staple kind of high-end stuff like crab or uni will probably still be on the menu. This, I believe, is the striped jack from a couple of photos ago. And to me, again, after a while, it rolls through. It's good. None of the pieces of sushi were not good. But again, there were some standouts. And for me, the uni was really good. And the bluefin tuna so far was the top choices. The prawn was also good also. This is the squash tofu. I thought it was a neat concept. I thought it was decent. And so all the food I thought was delicious. There was nothing that I didn't enjoy. And in my mind, I'm continuing to assess. It's definitely a restaurant I like. Whether it's a Michelin, one-star Michelin, to me, I was debating that all night long because I thought some of the dishes were exceptional and some of the quality of the food was exceptional, but does it get a star? That's a kind of a nice debate to have. I don't think the service standard was at a Michelin one-star level. Not that they're not friendly, not that they're not attentive. It's just it's so quick, the service, and it's so hard to be that attentive. So that was, I think, a little bit lacking. This is the chef showing us the toro that's going to be cut for the night. And again, everything is a display, and they display everything very nicely, which really adds to the experience. It's so clean, everything is done so polished in terms of how they do things, and so it's like theater, and so it really I think adds to the experience. Lobster tempura. Again, I didn't think their tempura dishes were the best thing they had. I thought their sushi dishes were very strong. Whatever they were using with fish was very strong. So it was okay. The lobster was delicious. Too small for my liking. I would have liked to have a little bit more, and that's also good complaint, I guess. A lot of the dishes that I really liked, they were too small in the portions. I would have be able to get more of those great dishes. This is the chef cutting up the toro. And you see this at other Japanese restaurants, but I think the difference here, it's much more theatrical, even more so than Masayoshi, which is also a one-star Michelin restaurant. So it's done in a manner that is very precise, and I think they've thought this out very well. The chef has thought this out very well because he wants to franchise this. And so he has to be able to have a set formula that he can roll out to various cities and with various chefs. So again, the quality of the sushi is very good, and you know, everyone is very nice. The staff are very nice, and it's very kind of calculated and kind of controlled in terms of the environment and the experience. So this is the chef showing you the mushroom rice that he's going to use as the basis of another dish in the future. And they do this quite a bit, where they bring out something and then you see it later on in a different dish. So I guess that saves time. Again, there's efficiency. They show it while they're preparing it, they go to a next dish. So it's quite well thought out, I think, in terms of how they're doing this. This is the miso soup, which I think is clam based. You know, it was regular. Again, most of the food I've seen before in other Japanese restaurants. I think the differentiation here is how they present it, and also the quality is very, very good. So I would say that is a real big check mark for them in terms of that. But there's, in terms of innovation, I don't think I've seen any of the dishes that were that innovative from my perspective. This is one of the chefs showing you the eel, and then there's going to be an eel dish. Again, I'm not sure exactly if this is the actual eel that they're using or whether that's going to be used for a different night. But again, this is kind of a flowing thing. There's no real stop in terms of the time frame, so it's really interactive, and it does take up your time. There's a lot of dishes, so I guess in a way the cost is warranted. And so here is the eel that comes out. I thought it was a good dish. Liked it. Again, the quality was very good. Tasty, savory, a little bit of sweetness on it. So you know, the grilled was correctly grilled, so no complaints about this dish. This was the taro sushi. Again, mouth-watering, melt in your mouth, great piece of fish. So the fish itself was excellent, the quality. I'm just trying to compare this to my experience at Masayoshi, and I think the difference is it's both omakase, but it's in the same fairly similar time period, but I think they do about twice as many dishes that Masayoshi does. And the second thing is that there's a little bit more plating, artistry with Masayoshi, which each sushi is usually plated, whereas in this situation it's put on a sushi plate and then you get it yourself. So there's not that plating aspect, and that plating aspect does take time. And so I guess that's why they've kind of, for efficiency, has removed that from this type of setting. Next is the Wagyu beef course, and this was one of the chefs on the side preparing the Wagyu beef, and this was like 10 minutes before. So again, a lot of theater involved. There's 4 chefs there working tirelessly getting the food ready, so there's a lot of movement inside the kitchen, and then each course is done up, and then the waitresses explain it to each of the guests, so quite a bit of movement involved here. This is the plating of the Wagyu beef. I really like this course. Only complaint is it's too small, obviously. It's a delicious, mouth-watering, melts in your mouth. So I thought this was a really good quality A5 Wagyu. But again, the quality of the actual ingredients, you cannot complain about. This is a bit of a palate cleanser. I didn't catch exactly what it was, but I think it has some beans, has some plums. It was sweet, almost jammy tasting. So kind of a nice interlude as we move towards the other end part of the meal and kind of take the taste of the heavy Wagyu out of your mouth. This is the chef shaving the aged bonito into flakes, and he's using this kind of shaper box. It's kind of neat. I'm sure they do this in the back at many Japanese restaurants, but it's nice to see it up front. He actually sets up the shaver in front of you, and then actually does the bonito. So I didn't actually realize bonito is actually a fish. It's a smoked fish. It's actually skipjack tuna, which is a saltwater fish, very rich in protein. And there's a process where they age it, and it becomes almost like tree bark. So it's kind of neat to see. And it's got a very intense, because of the smoking and aging process, very intense flavor of smokiness, and you could really taste it with this bonito. So this is what it was used for. He showed the rice, the mushroom rice previously, and then you see the dried bonito flakes. Then there's some ikura and some of the tuna that he used previously. So it's kind of neat. They have a box on the side where they put kind of excess pieces of the fish, but they use it in other dishes. Here is the chef working some artistry. So this is something that chefs do, create out of leaf, some designs. So that's an extra part of the meal. Again, it's probably done in some of the Japanese restaurants to a lesser scales, but he took quite a bit of time, and you'll see at the end of this video some photos of his end product, which is really quite nice. That was used as the plating to give the next sushi dish. He put all the all the sushi on this one big plate with his design, and then kind of went around and gave each person a piece. He did move his board around to the 3 different sides so that everyone could have a little chance to see what he was doing, and that's what he came up with. This is tamago, which is kind of made of grilled eggs. So you'll see this at a lot of Japanese restaurants. I normally don't like tamago because it tastes just like a sweet omelet. But this style where they actually bake it and almost make it like a cake, I really enjoy because it's not as sweet. It actually tastes more like a pound cake, or rather than just an omelet with sugar on it. So Masayoshi does the same thing, and again, it was very high quality, so enjoyed it. And then each person gets a little piece. Again, the only complaint is probably would have enjoyed it a little bit more, but it was good. And then we end at the end of the night with some noodles, which is the broth on this was very nice. I really like that, and a little design on the little cucumber or leaf there also. They made a pretty big deal about this crown melon. So, and again, we got a little taste of it. It's from the Hamamatsu city, and it is known to be a very sweet melon. It's, I guess, the highest quality, really juicy. It's a form of musk melon. So here's the dessert, and you'll see that one piece of melon on the top. Wish I could have a little bit more, but I guess it's pretty expensive. You have a little ice cream on the left hand side and a little apple crumble on the right. And I think the thing on the bottom is kind of a chocolatey item. So dessert was okay. So the next 2 videos, they at the end have a tea ceremony, which is kind of very nice. And then after that, they close the drapes. So I'm gonna let those 2 videos play first, and then I will have my final thoughts. My final thoughts. I recommend this restaurant. I really like some of the positives, which would be they're very, very high quality food and the people are very friendly, very efficient. On the negative side, they did start late, even though they told us to be on time and prompt. And likewise, they don't really have a wine list, so it's kind of confusing in terms of the ordering. They don't have a sommelier, so that's not, I think, as emphasized. And because they're so efficient, it's really hard to kind of reorder things at that point. So I found it a little bit rushed. The whole experience takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours max. Again, that's very traditional with omakase meals, but you know, this is like almost twice the dishes that most omakase come through. So I liked it. I think you should go at least once for the experience. And again, if you were just there just eating and enjoying the experience, I think you'd have a wonderful time. For me, I'm kind of trying to remember what I actually ate and kind of taking notes. So it's a little different. I think if I just, you know, had been just there just to eat and I don't care if I remember which fish I ate, I think it would be a much better time. As to whether it should get a Michelin star, I'm kind of on the fence. On one hand, it does have great food quality. On the other hand, it's not as personalized as some of the other Michelin star restaurants we have in Vancouver. So it almost feels like it's too efficient and it's almost being too commercialized. It's being set up so for a franchise that they have a certain procedure and method so that they can almost interchange chefs, which doesn't give you as much of a personalized experience. But all in all, I really enjoyed the experience. I would recommend it, and it is, especially if you've never been to omakase, this is the way to go. People are very friendly, food quality is very high. Again, a little quick for my liking. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Until next time, happy eating.